How is everybody doing? Welcome back to the channel. And as you guys see by the title, we had the Kevin O'Connell introductory press conference. I have my takeaways, I have some notes, and kind of my overall reaction to the press conference. I thought overall it was a lot of coach talk and a lot of GM talk from obviously the new GM and new head coach of our Minnesota Vikings. And however, he did address a couple interesting points. He obviously went over Kirk Cousins and what they're going to do with Kirk. I don't know if that was coach talk, but we're going to be breaking it down right now. Seriously, thank you guys so much for the support on the channel. It would really mean a lot. We are, I think, about 30 subs away from 2,000 subscribers. So please, if we could somehow hit this weekend, I would be absolutely enthused. Leave a comment down below how excited you guys are for KOC at the helm. And anyways, let's get right into it. All right, so the number one kind of takeaway I had was they kept mentioning a collaborative effort when it comes to decision making, and I just think that is just so typical in just like life and just sports, and I mean honestly everything. When you get off somebody, just like how the Vikings moved off from Mike Zimmer, you normally want to go find somebody who is not completely opposite but very opposite of the person you are just moving on from. It's kind of like when you break up with that ex-girlfriend and maybe she was very controlling or whatever, so then the next girl you find is very easygoing and lets you kind of do whatever you want. This is kind of how it feels bringing in Kevin O'Connell for Mike Zimmer. I mean, Mike Zimmer was this kind of dictatorship mentality at the end of his tenure in Minnesota, and Kevin O'Connell, he just sounds intelligent. He sounds like this is going to be, we're taking all the collective thoughts, and I love it because we have a very experienced coaching staff now, which a video will be coming out about that later too, about the final edition. But I don't know, I just thought my number one takeaway was this is going to be a collective effort. This is not going to be just like Mike Zimmer's the head coach, he's in charge. This is Kevin O'Connell and his staff. This is Kevin O'Connell and his team. It's a whole effort, and I don't know, the number one takeaway I had was it's just night and day from the Zimmer era. All right, fine. We'll talk about Kirk Cousins. You don't have to twist my arm too much. But Kevin O'Connell mentioned Kirk Cousins. Somebody asked him, will Kirk, all the surrounding news that Kirk won't restructure his $45 million, which I really can't wrap my head around. But anyways, Kevin O'Connell was talking about it. And when it comes to these guys like Kevin O'Connell, Kyle Shanahan, McVay, all those guys who are very smart offensive guys, they love Kirk Cousins. Like, they all just have this passion that they think Kirk is like the savior, mainly because of how accurate he is with the football. And then also somebody asked him about Matt Stafford and the comparison to Kirk Cousins, and he said the arm strength, like the way they throw the football, is very similar. But then he kind of sputtered off when he was asked about like the mental side of it. He didn't really there was not really that much to compare because you have Matthew Frat Stafford, and then you have Kirk Cousins, the holy Christian father. They just don't, their genetic makeup is not similar in that regards. But he was saying throwing the football, they're very similar, which I agree. I just think Stafford takes a lot more chances than Kirk. I think Stafford's got a bigger arm. I think Stafford's way better than Kirk. I think there's a bigger gap than most people do and most Vikings fans think. But he was just praising Kirk Cousins the whole time. He was saying that we're going to build an offense around the quarterbacks we have here and the quarterbacks in the quarterback room. Now listen, he could be 100% transparent. That's actually what they're going to do. But let's just say with all this Deshaun Watson rumors floating around, it's not like if they actually had something working with Deshaun Watson that they would mention it at all. Like they want to make sure that everybody knows that we're all in on Kirk and we're excited for Kirk because it raises the value of Kirk Cousins. So I think a lot of people are saying like, okay, Kirk is officially our quarterback now. I really don't. I think that was a lot of coaches talk from Kevin O'Connell. I don't think it's actually necessarily how they are feeling about Kirk Cousins. And another takeaway, I think it was the first question asked at the press conference, Chris Thomason. If you guys don't know who Chris Thomason is, he's a number one beat reporter for the Minnesota Vikings, and this guy's just the absolute worst. And I think he's going to drive Kevin O'Connell crazy throughout the season because Kevin O'Connell is such a smart, intellectual, process-oriented, analytically oriented human being. And you got Chris Thomason sitting front row. He's wearing the same sweater he's been wearing since Culpepper was at the helm, and he just asked some of the most stupid questions. It almost seems like he's like an FBI spy for like the Packers coming into like our press conference, just like trying to piss off the head coach. I think if there's one rule I would change, for the Minnesota Vikings, if I was the GM, Quezzy, you point out Chris Thomason. You say you are fired. Whatever your job is, you're fired. We'll figure something else. Hey, maybe I'll come fill in, be the beat reporter for the Minnesota Vikings. But anyways, overall thoughts, I was very excited. It was a lot of coach talk, a lot of GM talk from the two of them. But, that's what they kind of have to do. It kind of got me fired up, though, because they're very smart. Like, it's just night and day with Zimmer. I mean, Zimmer was more old school. Like, we're going to out-tough teams. This is more of, we're going to take it from the analytics side. We're going to take it from the collective effort of the team instead of just one guy running the whole show, which I'm super excited for. Let me know what you guys think down below, 1 through 10, how excited you guys are for Kevin O'Connell to be our newest head coach of the Minnesota Vikings. See you guys next time, and Skol Vikes.